I'm Pastor Cindy at West Des Moines United Methodist Church, and we are doing a Bible study online. During this coronavirus, we want to keep our Bible study going. We used to meet person to person, and that's way more the way I'd like to be doing this. But right now, we can't do that. So what we're going to do is just meet here online, and we're reading our way through the book of Esther. So I'm just so glad that you've joined in. I hope you're doing well and that your family is well. I hope you're weathering this time. The book of Esther is a great book to be reading because it's about courage, it's about conviction, it's about doing what's right in difficult times. My very favorite verse of this comes from chapter 4, when Mordecai, one of our main characters, tells Esther, you were brought here for such a time as this. This is our time to live facing all the things that we're facing. So read along with me. We're now in chapter 7. Just to catch you up a little bit, there is a plan that all of the Jews in Persia will be killed, a genocide. That plan has been put in place by Haman, the king's second in command. The king himself is sort of oblivious to what's going on, and he goes along with what Haman has asked him to do. So those two of our characters, our other two characters, are Esther, who is the queen, and Mordecai. They are both Jews. They are refugees, immigrants. Esther's identity is somewhat hidden. She never would have been the queen had they known that she was a Jew. So, but she is the queen. The king is all-powerful. Esther cannot go before the king unless she is invited. And now it's time for her to step up and ask that the king not allow this genocide to go forward. Haman's heart seems to be filled with hate. He hates both Mordecai and the Jews. So I hope you've been following along in previous chapters. But here we go. And this is chapter 7 in the book of Esther. And we're beginning with verse 1. So the king and Haman went in to a feast with Queen Esther on the second day as they were drinking wine, and that sort of implies that feasts went on for more than one day. The king again said to Esther, "What is your petition, Queen Esther?" In other words, what do you want? "It shall be granted to you. What is your request? Even to the half of my kingdom it shall be fulfilled." Now, when he said that, he sort of made an oath. You know, whatever you want, I'm going to give you, even if you want half of my kingdom. I think that's kind of boastful hyperbole. I doubt that he would have given her half the kingdom. But still, he's saying, I'll do whatever you want. Queen Esther answered, "If I have won your favor, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me. That is my petition, and the lives of my people. That is my request." Now, he wouldn't have known who she was referring to when she said her people. "For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and be annihilated. If we have been sold merely as slaves, men and women, I would have held my peace. But no enemy can compensate for this damage to the king." Verse 5. Then King Xerxes said to Queen Esther, "Who is he and where is he? Who has presumed to do this?" Remember, I said before, the king is sort of out of touch and has given Haman so much power. Esther said, "A foe and enemy, this wicked Haman." Now, Haman is sitting there while this is happening. Then Haman was terrified before the king and the queen, and the king rose from the feast in wrath and went into the palace garden. But Haman stayed to beg for his life from Queen Esther, for he saw that the king had determined to destroy him. When the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, and we can imagine sort of the king going off and just trying to make sense of all of this, walking out in the garden, wondering. When the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman had thrown himself on the couch where Esther was reclining. And the king said, "Will he even assault the queen in my presence in my own house?" So it looks like Haman has kind of come at the queen. All of this from the person who the king thought was his right-hand man. Continuing on, As the words left the mouth of the king, they covered Haman's face. So, you know what the king had said, you can see like it passing by Haman's face. Verse 9, then Harbona, one of the eunuchs in attendance on the king, said, look, the very gallows that Haman has prepared for Mordecai, whose word saved the king. And remember, Mordecai had saved the king by telling him about an assassination plot. Those gallows stand at Haman's house, 50 cubits high. And the king said, hang him on that. And so they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. And then the anger of the king abated. It's, you know, I think it sort of sounds like you reap what you sow here, doesn't it, for Haman? Haman is the one who'd built those gallows. He'd built them for Mordecai. And it all backfires on him. And now he's ordered to be killed. Things have changed dramatically. How did this happen? For one thing, Esther was very, very brave. She says, these are my people. And she stands up for them, even though it puts herself in peril. It really was going to come down to how the king would respond to all of this. What do you make of this? If you were writing a sermon, you know that's what goes through my head all the time because I preach, what would you say about all this? Esther's brave. The king does have a conscience where he's trying to understand things that have happened. He does seem to have some affection for Esther. He is grateful to Mordecai for saving him. It seems to me that Haman has created around himself violence, and that same violence will come back now, is coming back now to kill him, to bring an end to his life. Well, thanks for joining in today. We're going to meet up again soon, and we'll read on in chapter 8. Right now, I hope, again, things are going well for you. See you soon.